This is Ben Silvero from the Pretentious Film Majors.
This is my sidekick, Aaron Klein, of Not Your Demographic fame.
And I'm Ansel Birch, your host in post. This episode was recorded on February 9th, 2020. Today's episode is being presented out of sequence. This is our pilot episode, the first one we ever recorded. And that's why this one is a special treat for you, our loyal listeners.
Oh, we're removing. How many viewers have I had already? We're reviewing Hot Tub Time Machine.
That's right. That's exactly what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
We got mixed energy levels here.
Oh my god. It's weird because I'm not facing you, and
I know.
I'm not
We're just side to side. This is how we got so drunk when we did the Pod Slam, because we were sitting kind of side by. It's like when a dad doesn't want to actually talk to you about a problem that he's having,
Yep.
and he sits next to you in the car so that he can side talk to you.
Yep.
That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's how this is gonna go. Congratulations, everyone.
Oh my god. Anyway, so Hot Tub Time Machine takes place in 2010.
2010, yeah, which I didn't even think about at the beginning. I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, this is set today in 2020, which is ridiculous.
Right, I
There's
guess
no reason to think that.
we should start by saying I've seen it before.
Yes, you've seen this
I
movie
saw
before.
it when it came out, but this is the first
This is
time
the
you're
first time
seeing
I'd ever seen this movie. I'm not gonna lie, I thought it looked really dumb. I
Yeah.
heard a lot of good things about it, but I was like, I don't know about this. I don't know this is for me. It kind of looked like, to me, seeing the previews and seeing how people talked about it, it kind of reminded me of Old School,
Sure.
which I don't like. I feel like I'm the only person who doesn't like that movie, but
Did you see it when it came out?
No. I saw
Okay.
it way later,
Right.
way too late, which is the reason that I didn't like it. So I thought I was going to have the same kind of reaction to this. And there were things about this I didn't like.
Yes.
But I was surprised by how much I liked it. I actually
good.
really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was really funny a lot of the time. And a lot of it was really smart. And it made a lot of callbacks to Back to the Future.
Yes.
Which obviously is my jam. I love that.
Yes.
I love that shit.
It's interesting because lately I've been revisiting my favorite movies to see if they still hold up and if I like them a lot. I'm not saying Hot Tub Time Machine is one of my favorite movies, but there are definitely a lot of parts.
You can admit that.
No, it's not one of my favorite movies. I do like it a lot though. And I still do after watching it again. It's just that there are some parts, mostly in language.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I'm like, oh, that's not good anymore.
It's funny because now knowing that it was it was released at least in 2010 and set in 2010 and was probably made in 2009 or maybe even 2008. That makes it make a little more sense too.
Sure.
That some of that language felt so dated and weird, inappropriately.
Absolutely.
It was weird because it was this is supposed to be offensive, but in a funny way, and it just read as this is gross. Some of this is just gross, and I'm not.
Every time Rob Corddry's character said faggot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That definitely stood out to me.
It was weird too that it felt very strange for me because he was so homophobic.
Yes.
But then was cool about oh yeah, dudes just give each other hand jobs when they're about to fuck in a threesome. It was what the fuck is
He's
happening?
about to blow his friend and he says, good for you.
Yeah, he was the most relaxed about it. It was very bizarre. It was this is not working in 2020 in the way that it may have in 2010. So yeah, that for sure stood out.
It's also interesting that you mentioned Old School because I haven't revisited that yet. But after seeing Joker and seeing what Todd Phillips has done since then,
so weird.
Oh god, I hate him so much now. I just want to punch him in the face.
He has such a punchable face.
Repeatedly. Cause fuck Todd Phillips. No, don't fuck Todd Phillips.
Don't fuck Todd Phillips.
Unless it's with that dildo that someone posted on Twitter with the nails coming out of it. You can fuck him with that. But only that.
I don't know. Maybe he's into that. I just
he
say
might be into
hard
that.
rules. Don't fuck him.
Yes, just don't fuck him.
Hard rules. Just don't. He did The Hangover too, right?
Yeah,
That's
he did.
him. I do love the first Hangover movie.
Yeah,
it's
same.
really fucking.
It should have been nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, I mean.
But the Academy doesn't respect comedies.
You could just say the Academy doesn't respect, and then just leave a blank.
No, that's true. Yeah, women, people of color, comedies, foreign films, God, Academy. Get your shit together!
Get more not white people.
Please.
Truly, that's the biggest
Just
problem.
eliminate the old people, it'll be fine.
I mean, we'll just wait a generation. They'll all die. It'll be fine.
Soon.
Okay, so Hot Tub Time Machine opens with Immediately, we get a bunch of photos of people partying in a hot tub, so you know we're in for a good time.
Yeah.
Immediately, I was like, all right, here we go. we're ready for this, I guess. So I like that we got this set up right at the very beginning. I was surprised by how dark the beginning is. Like, yo, here's this dude who is maybe accidentally, maybe not, maybe on purpose trying to kill himself, and is clearly a deep alcoholic. Here's a dude whose girlfriend, wife, unclear in this moment, takes all this shit and leaves a horrible voicemail. Mm-hmm. That's one of the other things that kind of stood out in the writing of this, too, is that, like, all of these women suck. Like, really, really suck. In a way that kind of lets these men off the hook for being terrible. In a way that kind of made me uncomfortable by the end. There was some, like, redemption to that, but this voicemail was kind of that first clue for me, too, where it was like, ugh, this is... No women were involved in the writing of this script, which is super clear right away. Yes. So, like, that I wanted to point out, too. But, so this woman takes all of his shit, he's, like, sad. You meet his... Nephew, who is pretending to be in jail in Second Life, which is, like, okay, another very 2010 thing. That makes this feel very dated. Like, what is this? Okay, whatever. Like, that's fine. And we also see, oh my god, what's his character's name?
Craig Robinson's character?
Yes, thank you.
Nick Weber.
Yeah, we see Nick, who has a fine job, works with animals, seems to really love this dog that he's working with, who's just disrespected by people and has been emasculated, I guess, is like his whole character. His whole character at the beginning is, this man has been emasculated, which is... Again, it feels very 2010.
Yes,
like, it's very weird, but
there's a big thing where he took his wife's last name and hyphenated.
Yeah, and like that's a big deal because they hyphenated it.
Right.
Like,
who cares now? Like,
in
2020, who cares?
Absolutely. That felt very weird. It was like, why wouldn't, if you wanted to make that jab now, he would have just taken his wife's last name full stop. They wouldn't even have hyphenated it. And now it's just like, oh yeah, duh, of course somebody would do that. So that especially stood out as well. Mm-hmm. So all of these men have terrible lives.
Yes.
Terrible, terrible lives. So they had these terrible lives, and they decided to go to Kodiak Valley, where they'd had the best days of their lives at some point in the past, we have learned. Again, I was really surprised how dark it was up until this point. I was like, I thought this was a comedy.
Yeah.
Like,
this town is desolate.
Yeah. It was like a weird comment on how things change and fall apart, which I liked, but was also like, what's happening here exactly? I thought it effectively set up for what was coming, that we're about to see them in this, like, peak, and you needed to see that contrast. But it was also like, this is bizarre.
Watching your face through some of these moments was, like, hilarious.
Oh
like, there were some moments where you were just, like, wide mouth open, like, is this happening
Some
really?
of it really surprised me. I was like, wow, they're really fucking going there, huh? Okay. I'm reading through my notes and I just have written very large, Lou sucks.
Yeah. Lou sucks a lot.
Lou sucks a lot.
I wrote that too, like Lou's homophobia and overall PCness.
Homophobic, hates women, doesn't give a fuck about others. And it's funny too that they present Adam as the one who doesn't give a fuck about others. And it's like, well, Lou sucks. Like, there's a reason Adam has stopped giving a fuck about him, I think, at this point.
But, like, the thing that defines Adam's character is what he says to Clark Duke's character in the basement. Like, what did you do for your girlfriend to leave you? And he said, I didn't do anything. Like, Adam doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that's true. Adam is very passive and, like, his whole life is determined. We find out abruptly, way later in the movie, that his dad died tragically and he thinks that he's been blamed for it, which was, it just felt so out of left field.
Of E. coli.
Yeah, it was
from
like,
pizza.
What the fuck? Like, it made Adam have more context for why he was such a sad sack of shit, but also, like, what a weird detail to throw in, like, an hour into this movie. Like, maybe we should have learned that earlier, or maybe it was unnecessary. Like, I thought it was a joke. I thought that he was gonna be like, LOL, just kidding, and, like, nope, it was completed totally, like, that was a serious moment that he confesses to Lizzie Kaplan that my dad died and looked me in the eyes and I knew it was my fault. Like, whoa.
Yeah, real dark. This movie gets real dark.
It was just so much darker than I was expecting, which I think made me like it more, because I'm definitely into, like, dark and black comedy.
I love Lizzie Kaplan. I love it when she pops up and stuff.
I do too. Although I also made a note later that she is, like, the only person. She's the only person in this cast who, once they get into it's 1986, right?
Yes.
Once they get to 1986, she doesn't look like she belongs at all.
No.
Does not fit that era, looks completely out of place
Yeah.
to the point that when they met at the bar at the Poison concert, I thought she was going to reveal that she was also a time traveler.
Oh, so she was in cahoots with Chevy Chase.
Yes, it's exactly what I thought. I was like, oh, she's gonna be some kind of, like, she's his good conscience, and, like, because she just does not fit at all.
But Aaron, don't you know writers are hip and ahead of their time? And I'm not that at all. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, her character felt very out of place.
Yeah.
It was weird. Like, I don't know. I like her, and I thought that she and John Cusack managed to have really good chemistry. Yeah. That was another thing about this that made me really uncomfortable right from the jump. As soon as we get to 1986, they're like, you gotta do all the things that you did. And I'm like, these old men are gonna fuck these teenage girls? And it was like, yes, they are. There was no compunctions about that. Yeah. Like, they're just gonna fuck these teenagers. Yeah. Like, okay, like, this is weird.
But all of them were committed to it right off the bat, except for Craig Robinson.
Has the most awkward encounter.
So awkward.
Why is this woman using these sponges? Like, I don't...
These big dollar store sponges.
And, like, you see her in the time machine while it's happening. When they're in the hot tub, you get these, like, flashes of, like,
the bear.
The weird bear that is never explained.
I assumed that he was the mascot for the resort.
For Winterfest or whatever, but it was just like, here's this bear in this hot tub, and also in like a million other places in this movie. It was, the bear was a choice that I enjoyed. Yeah, his encounter with this woman, in that flash, I saw her using those big sponges. I was like, what the fuck is this? Not explained.
Yes. We should also mention that we watched the unrated version. Yeah, we watched the unrated.
It didn't feel unrated.
Right, exactly. Like, I don't remember what the theatrical cut would have had, but, like, maybe just less boobs?
There weren't even that many boobs!
There weren't that many boobs.
There was a man's butt in this one. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe in 2010 they were like, oh no.
Yeah. Rob Corddry's butt? No. No.
Absolutely not. That gets you NC-17. They're like, we'll just put it in the unrated version. It's fine. Yeah, that's so weird.
Here's a hard transition for you.
They talk a lot in the movie about different time travel movies.
Yes.
So there's definitely tropes at play. You know, they talk a lot about Terminator.
They immediately, right as soon as they get back to 1986, they're like, what are the rules of this universe? Which I thought was really nice. It was nice that they seemed very self-aware. I hate it when people time travel and they're like, how does time travel work? No one has ever experienced this. Like, I like that this movie was very in touch culturally to the point that they were like, okay, these things. Although I did think it was a little weird that they never mentioned Back to the Future, even though a lot of it mirrors Back to the Future. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of the rules are the same. There's like the glitchy kid who has to make himself be born again. There's the song that's performed for a crowd in the past. Like, they did a lot of, and they like call someone McFly at one point. Yeah. Crispin fucking Glover is in this movie. Like, there's a lot of stuff but like in this universe somehow Back to the Future does not exist, which is an interesting choice, I think. But they talk about like Terminator and like,
Terminator is even foreshadowing what happens to Clark Duke's character.
Yeah,
because the whole John Connor thing.
I didn't even think about that. They did a lot of foreshadowing in this movie too, which I enjoyed. Like, before when Lou is in the hot tub and he's telling Jacob to come get into it, he says, you have to I wrote it down because I was like, oh, that's gonna be a thing. You gotta get in here, it will change you. Like, yeah, that's totally what happened. And I'm like, that's another trope of time travel movies that, like, you can't change anything, and yet somehow we get to the end and everyone is a better person because of these experiences. Like, you wouldn't have been sent back in time by this larger force if it was not to teach you a lesson about how you fucked your whole life up. Yeah. And you gotta fix it. Which I enjoyed.
Another tropey thing that happens is that Jacob has a conversation with that girl where he is just like, how can I get in touch with you?
Yes.
Let me text you. What's your email?
Let's be totally out of touch with each other's current technological status. Like,
how can I find you? You just come find me.
Yeah, you just have to come find me.
That's so exhausting.
Which is true.
It is very exhausting.
It's funny to watch it in 2020 and be like, yeah, it is even more true today that people are like, I don't want to leave my house. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
This was recorded before the pandemic. We had no idea.
Like looking at all the dating apps and Twitter and
and like I like to, like, another part, I think it's a trope, but it's used effectively, is that the fashion immediately. You're like
Yes.
immediately aware that this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Like
Nick Robinson calls it out. Jerry curl.
right. There's like the cassette player, but
Yep.
like all the colorful patterns, and they get out onto the slopes, and then everyone's in like neon colors, which I really enjoyed. Oh, although there is a trope that like in the context of like what is time travel? How have we experienced this? I wrote down these things because I found them so startling. None of these grown men, four full-grown men, none of them noticed that there used to be a dead raccoon in this hot tub, which is never explained how they got rid of it, and that there is a person who silently came into their room and fixed it, which they never heard, and that none of them noticed that this is a piss-yellow hot tub that is just filled with absolutely yellow water. And then the next morning they wake up inside of this piss-yellow hot tub and are like, you know what we're gonna do? Jump on the slopes. And, like, it takes them an entire day to notice that it is no longer decrepit. Like, that, I think, is one of the, like, really obvious tropes that happens here outside of that. As soon as they realize it, they're like, we have time travel, this is what's happening. But inside of that, like, why did it take you a whole day to notice this? This seems really fucking obvious.
I mean,
but...
the guy with the cell phone wasn't enough of an indication.
Well, I feel like that's the moment when they realize it, is that it's like, here's this, because Craig Robinson is like, oh, I'm not getting bars on my cell phone, and then immediately the guy comes in and is like, I'm calling you owe me $2, which is like a hilarious bet number, because like, what the fuck does $2 even mean in that kind of money? Like,
well, back in that day.
right, it's like, oh, I just won $40 off of this bet that I could call you from a amount, it's like, okay, that's actually a pretty good deal.
I mean, who willingly admits they write for Spin Magazine? No, I'm just kidding.
In 1986.
In 1986. No. So Nick Webber is probably the most redeemable of the main four. Mm-hmm. Like, he maintains his morality throughout.
He has morality.
He has morality, yeah. Like,
he's like committed to doing the thing and doing it correctly,
right.
too. He's like, okay, I have to make these personal sacrifices in order to help my friends, and he does that immediately.
Yeah.
And, like, he seems like the one who always does that. Like,
right.
He's still in touch with both Lou and Adam, even though Lou and Adam have fallen out, and is the one who's, like, paying for everything. Like, he seems like a more redeemable person right away, straight away from the beginning.
Yeah, and I mean, like, Nick has an excuse for not showing up to the fight at midnight. Mm-hmm. He was on stage performing. Yeah. Adam, his whole MO is not doing anything.
Yeah, he's just a piece of shit.
Yeah.
He's just a really unreliable friend. Because he has deep, untreated trauma from his father dying. Which, again, feels like we should have found out way sooner in the movie. But, like, whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, Jacob, like, has the disadvantage of little life experience. Yeah, he's the youngest one. He wasn't there when it happened the first time, so he doesn't know what's going on.
Right.
He has the least information, and...
Yeah, and, like, his life isn't completely irredeemable yet at the beginning.
Right.
He is at, like, that fork where, like, he can either stay in his uncle's basement playing Second Life forever, or he's gonna make this decision to move on. And, like, that's the redeemable quality, is that he becomes very responsible. He's the one who, like, we have to fix this, we have to make sure we do this correctly, because his life literally depends on it. So I feel like you get this, like mirror almost of him. Like, immediately you get to find out that, like, actually this man could be very capable, he just has to give a shit.
Yeah, and then, you know, when it comes to Adam, it's just like, Adam and Lou are the worst.
They both suck.
They both
suck
really
in
suck.
really, really different ways. And, like, Adam, in the end, is redeemable in that, I don't know, he finally shows up and, like, gives a pep talk, which does nothing.
It does nothing.
That's the thing, is it feels like Adam is being redeemed, and yet Adam doesn't do dick. Like, I don't know, I really liked that he gets his, that he was like, oh, I broke up with this girl, and, like, that's what ruined my life, and I should have stayed with her, and if I had done that, my whole life would be different. And so he very selfishly tries to do that, and then gets dumped. Like, no, bro, it was your destiny to not be with this woman, and, like, it was gonna happen one way or another. And in the end, I think the thing that makes him redeemable is he finally learns to let go, and it's like, I have say in my life, and what I'm gonna let these things happen to me, but also, like, I'm aware that I have to, like, be there and show up for people in order for these things to happen to me. So I guess that's his redeeming quality. I don't know what Lou has no redeeming qualities. He cheats, he lies, he steals, he stays in the past, and then he becomes Biff Tannen. he, like, bottoms out and brings them to the bottom and, like, is rescued by them in a way that he really needs. And Adam offers to stay in the past with him. I guess that's true. Adam does make this very unselfish...
and he sacrifices...
Yeah,
like...
he, like, makes this very unselfish decision to, like, I will stay here with you, and, like, Lou is like, nah, bitch, get out of here!
Yep.
Which worked, and it's, again, like, another, like, trope of this kind of movie is that the butterfly effect happens, and there's no consequences for it. Like, fucking no consequences whatsoever in any of this. And, like, I do like that because Lou, like, stands up for himself and beats the shit out of this dude, and they go after him, the medevac team is there in order to save Crispin Glover, and, like, all of that starts. But, like, the only thing we get from that is that at the end he has 2 arms. And, like, that's... Maybe. Maybe he has 2 arms. Like, what the fuck?
Oh my god, that bit about Michael Jackson.
What color is Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
Black.
Oh, like, it's weird hearing it now. Because, like, how do I feel about that now? You know?
Yeah, I mean, Michael Jackson's always been extraordinarily problematic. That's a whole deal. I like that there's this... Because he was already dead when this came out, and so it's not like it has a different set of reading outside of, like, it has now been an additional number of years. There's the Neverland documentary, obviously, but, like, I don't know, I feel like that joke would have hit kind of the same in 2010 as it did today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Oh, it's so weird.
I thought it was clever.
Yeah,
it was a very clever way, like,
because he could have been like,
what year is it?
Yeah.
That's what I thought he was going to ask. That's another, like, time travel trope that we didn't really get in this. Was, like, another one, like, the Deus Ex Machina of Chevy Chase coming in is another, like, oh, here's someone who has just imparted this wisdom on you that you kind of need to know in order for you to, like, succeed in this
And
venture.
Jacob, like, throughout is just like, why can't you just say anything straight?
Yeah.
Like,
I like at first that it's kind of unclear what exactly Chevy Chase's role is, and then it's like, oh no, I'm God. Or something. Yeah. I'm some kind of HVAC godlike person, which I enjoyed.
He could be something from the Speed Force that's a time demon, or whatever. Like, you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. He's just part of the mechanics of that time travel.
Right, exactly. He's part of the mechanics of it. Also, speaking of the mechanics of it, we should get into how the time travel actually happens. Right. So, there's this hot tub, devoid of dead raccoon at this point. Pissed yellow. They get inside of it and they're like, let's party. It's time. And they spill an important detail, again, more like foreshadowing that happens in unexpected ways. Lou has brought this Chernobly illegal energy drink, which has some kind of chemical in it. I like that at first they're like, I don't know what the fuck it's called, because who gives a shit? Right. Because it doesn't really seem like it's important, but then turns out to be the mechanic that opens a black hole inside of this hot tub and travels them into the past.
Yeah. Jacob mentions that he writes Stargate fanfiction.
Yes, so he's like, I'm the expert here. Clearly, let me explain this to you.
Have you ever watched Stargate?
I have never watched Stargate.
Neither have... Ansel, have you watched Stargate?
I watched a little Stargate.
Okay.
Stargate is also unclear about how it works.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, okay.
Perfect. That makes
so
more
it
sense.
Matches up. Yeah.
It's both ancient and futuristic, and somehow takes you to other places.
So it's so far in the future, it's in the past. Yeah. That kind of deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like Firefly.
I've been in plays like that. They always turn out poorly. Into it.
How could it go wrong?
Well, you'd be surprised. Okay, so this black hole opens up. We find out very slowly through Chevy Chase through the rest of the movie that there's some kind of nitrous something inside of this Chernobly, which turns into the plot device later that the people in the 80s think that they're Russian spies. Like,
I love that it's Sebastian Stan, the Winter Soldier, who calls someone out for being a Russian spy.
It worked out very well. Though for like the first 30 minutes, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? I know this dude from somewhere, and I could not figure it out. And as soon as I asked Betty, he was like, yes, hello, it's obviously this person. Like, fuck, you're totally right. He's so well cast in this.
Yeah, he's great.
What a great casting choice for this fucking douchebag character.
Yes.
Like, fully believe that this idiot exists in 1986, and
he's such an 80s bad guy.
Oh, absolutely. Is a patriot. Watches movies where they kill Ruskies. Like, this dude, their fashion sense was impeccable. It was, the costuming of this whole thing was phenomenal. But, like, there was something about the way that they, as the, like, fratty, douchey dudes dressed in particular that, like, immediately you knew that they were the shitty dudes. Like, I thought that was really well done.
Of the pieces of fashion that have come back since the 80s, which are you most, like, willing to embrace?
Willing to embrace? What do
or
you
have
mean?
embraced? Like,
I literally never let go of my 80s fashion, and it has simply come around and become popular again. Like, I love all that shit. I love the crew neck sweaters in ridiculous, loud patterns. I love that shit. You know that I love a fanny pack. Like,
sure.
I have a whole shelf in my closet of fanny packs, one for every occasion. Because they're the best. Why would you ever carry anything else in the summer? They rule. And you can take them on a roller coaster. Like, obviously I'm gonna wear that shit.
That's what you can take away from this episode. Take a fanny pack on a roller coaster.
Absolutely! You don't have to wear it around your waist. You can put it around your shoulder and on your back and wear it on your chest on a roller
Notice
coaster.
the kids are doing that these days.
It's very popular among the kids these days. Absolutely.
Like, it's like you're taking those big-ass messenger bags with, like, downsizing them and wearing them over your shoulder.
Absolutely.
I don't know, like...
It's like an acceptable way to wear a purse as a man, too, because really it's just a crossbody bag that's a little bit longer. Because all you have to do is let that strap out, and then you can wear it around it. I saw women doing that in Berlin when I was there on my honeymoon, and I was like, that's the shit! I'm gonna start doing that! And now, 3 years later, it's very popular. I'm into it.
I did the same thing with Razor scooters. They were
Those
really
things are making
big
a
in
comeback.
Hawaii.
Oh my god.
And then, like, they weren't anywhere here in America.
Ben is very aware that Hawaii is part of America. Please don't at us.
And then I bought one in a market and brought it back, and everyone was like, what the fuck is that? Like,
Oh my God.
why are you riding that?
They were very
A year
popular.
later, they blew up.
They were very popular in the suburbs when I was a kid.
Yep.
Like, that's the only time I really remember them. I tried to use one as an adult, and I was like, this is going poorly. This is not gonna happen.
I remember there were, like, ads of, like, businessmen in suits riding on Razor scooters.
I have seen men in business suits riding Razor scooters downtown Chicago.
Oh my
on
God.
multiple occasions. There was a dude
Incredible.
He used to, like, Razor scooter from the building that I worked in, like, to the train stop, which is, like, 2 fucking blocks away. But it meant that he could make his train faster, and so he could, like, not be on the rush train. Like, get out and just get on there, and then I bet he Razor scootered home from wherever his stop was, too.
In high school, I had a backpack that, like, remember the backpacks that you could put your skateboard on and just go on a train? I had one for a Razor scooter. It was real dumb.
That's so lame.
It was real dumb.
So lame. Oh my god.
Some Star Wars shit.
Yes!
That is some Star Wars shit.
I have a highly specific holster for this thing that I use once in the movie.
100%.
Oh my god.
Okay, so, rating. On the Pretentious Film Majors, we gave the infamous Pretentious Film Majors 5-star scale. But on Time to Party with Ben and Aaron, how are we gonna rate these movies? Like 5 stars? Like 2 thumbs up? Like this is worth our time?
Yeah.
How many minutes would you give it? Out of 5?
Let's see. I feel like
There's your title. Worth the time.
Yeah,
Worth the
right,
Time.
Worth the Time.
That is a good title. Worth the Time.
See, we're figuring this out as we go along, folks.
Yeah, this is what a pilot episode is for.
Right?
Yeah, is it worth our time? Is this movie a party? Is it worth our time?
I think so.
I think so.
After having seen it after a long time of not thinking about it, I think it holds up other than Rob Corddry's character, like, being homophobic and stuff like that.
I think even despite some of the things that make it kind of dated, it's still worth it.
Yep.
Like, I don't know that I would ever sit down and, like, voluntarily watch this movie from start to finish again.
Sure.
If it was, like, on, I would sit down and watch it. I wouldn't be like, oh, I'll be back when this
It's
movie
still pretty
is
fun.
Yeah, I, like, enjoyed it. I think it would be it's one of those movies where, like, you turn it on TV and you're like, fuck yeah, I'll watch 45 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
Like, there were things about that I really enjoyed. I don't know how a TV edit would be,
Sure.
but, like, again, even though on the unrated one, there wasn't a lot that was bad.
Right.
So, like, I think this is totally worth it.
Yeah.
This was fun.
This was definitely worth your time,
This
folks.
was worth your time.
Cool. We reviewed a movie.
We reviewed a movie!
Woo!
This has been Time to Party. with Aaron Klein and Ben Silverio. I'm Ansel Birch, your host in post. You can find Aaron on Instagram at NYDEarnGenC. You can find Ben on Instagram and Twitter at BSilverio20. And you can find me on Instagram at TheIndecisionist and on Twitter at Indecisionist. Special thanks to April Moralba for our podcast art and to Marlon Longett of Marlon and the Shakes for our amazing theme song. Wherever you are in the continuum, just remember it might be time to party!